Alright, so let's just make sure we're actually streaming. Because that is relatively important, I have found. I
Testing. Testes.
will,
1, 2.
I will update this stupid app later. Don't you give me that. I want to stream. Hey, Boba Bun is here. Sweet. Alright.
Wow.
Are we ready?
Sorry about
Because we're
that.
streaming.
She lives.
So,
My sister is an idiot. That's
well,
ultimately what
let's
happened.
leave that for after the stream. Like I
Eh.
said, we are streaming, so I don't want to get into personal drama while we're streaming. Anyway, welcome back to World War Weeb, where we ask you just one question. Can you name a better OTP than peanut butter and jelly?
Josh Senpai and Boba Bun.
For some reason, the very first thing my brain said was, "It's Pikachu!" And I know
It's
that is
Pikachu!
completely wrong. I know that is completely wrong.
It's
on so many
Jigglypuff!
levels.
Stop!
You're both wrong. It's Batman.
Na, fuck you. Alright, so if you can't tell already, today we are going to be talking about OTPs. The one true pairing, the only pairing that could ever be. In fact, we are going to find the ultimate pairing, the ultimate OTP, which may or may not involve chlamydia.
Or stabby stab. I mean, what?
FTDs.
Well, anyway. So, I have a few that I can think of. I know we were talking a little bit about this before the stream, but let me introduce us once again. My name is Josh, aka Josh in the Shell. I am with my co-hosts Orphan and Boba Bun, and today we were going to be joined again by Bagels, but instead Bagels will be replaced by the life body double, who is also female and looks nothing like him, and is far older. Lady Saber, who is currently going by the name Iris von Einberg.
I accidentally
Bruh.
ate bagels. He was just left on the counter.
I think she might be a little salty by the intro I gave her. I mean, let's be fair, we're all much older than Bagels.
No,
Really?
no, that's just I said bruh because that's literally just what I say. That's my bruh.
Well, anyway. So our guest was saying that she has a lot more OTPs that she hates than she likes. So let's get a few of those out of the way before we get into the heated discussion of who is the one true pairing. Because as we know, there can be only one.
Agreed.
So,
And
Lady
I have a
Saber.
huge list of ones that they okay. So once upon a time, I had a delightful
that show.
opportunity
Oh, I'm sorry.
to meet. We don't. Oh, you want to get into some OTPs? That show has some pretty crazy crack ships. I mean, the crocodile from Peter Pan hooked up with Belle from Beauty and the Beast and had a baby. I mean, like, we're anyway. That's not the,
Okay.
we're not talking about
yeah,
those
please,
ships.
please
We're
never
talking
say
about-
that again. Move on to something else before I explode out of sheer rage.
I think
But that
that's
is,
illegal
but am
in
I
some
wrong?
states.
That is what happened. That is what occurred.
I refuse to believe this. Please continue with your list.
Literally
anything else.
What show?
I had the opportunity to meet Scott McNeil, which, as anybody in the anybody that knows anything about anime knows, Scott McNeil was prolific in his time. He provided voices for every show. He was Koga in Inuyasha. He was Duo Maxwell in Gundam Wing. He was Piccolo in the Ocean Dub. And I asked him to sign a blank piece of paper, and then I would draw a piece of fan art for it later, and he did. He was a very gracious, he was a super sweet guy. And I went to try and find some art of Duo Maxwell to draw for this signature that I got, and found tons of pictures of Duo Maxwell draped in the arms of every other Gundam pilot. And in one of the pictures, I am not joking, in one of the pictures, Duo was pregnant. That is a ship that I am very unhappy about. Like Duo and
That sounds pretty
all
solid,
the other
actually.
pilots. It makes me very unhappy. It makes me very, very unhappy. Shame on all of you.
I guess that means they all see Duo as the bottom bitch.
Is that even physically possible?
No, it is not. No, it is
Or he just impregnated himself and then did the absolute Chad move and had someone else carry him in their arms whilst he was pregnant with his own child. Which
I'm
I
not okay
think.
with that scenario either.
He's Cartman's mom. He's Cartman's mom.
So that was one of the ships I was extremely upset about until I found out that people shipped Aaron Yeager and Levi Ackerman, and that made me even
Gross.
angrier. That made me even angrier until I found out that people shipped Shiro and Keith from Voltron, and I was
See,
even
that one
angrier.
I slightly understood. Only because most of the people doing this were people with daddy issues, and he was definitely the dad role, and Keith definitely needed a dad role. I think
Well,
they
it
kind of.
it behooves me to announce this, but that's not normally what dads and sons do. But okay, whatever sinks your son.
No. Again, the people doing this again. Just to reiterate this part, the people doing that, to the ones that I've seen anyway, all had actual daddy issues, and I'm like, well, that makes sense. You're projecting.
I found one ship though that made me even angrier, and that was Crow and Ozpin. I was like, okay, y'all need Jesus, because that one
hell
is
no,
currently
y'all
the one that
motherfucking need
makes me the
Jesus.
angriest. That's the one that makes me the angriest is Crow and Ozpin right now, because like it was Hero and Duo, and then it was Keith and Shiro, and then I'm sorry, Levi and Aaron, and then it was Keith and Shiro, and now it's Crow and Ozpin.
It's
Well,
one of the people
alrighty
on.
then.
It's a wonder people on shipping Sesame Street characters at this point. The fucking people.
Okay, people are writing fanfic about the Mystery Machine and Baby from Supernatural. Okay, like ships.
Like zoinks.
Ships know no bounds.
Well, no, and of course there is the obvious contention that, it's Rule 34. These are the rules of the internet. If it exists, there's porn of it. And the often forgotten Rule 35, if there is not porn of it, it will be made.
Well, as they say, the internet is really, really great.
Oh God, it's been years. God, that's been years. Oh, I feel old now.
People do not sit at home and watch porn on the internet.
Oh, really? You have no idea! Ready, normal people?
Ready?
Ready! The internet is for porn.
No, it's not.
The
Are we gonna get
internet is
copyright
for porn.
striked for this?
That's great.
That's why I only left it at the beginning.
No, we won't get copyrighted for it.
No. You understand, this is YouTube we're talking about. We are streaming on YouTube.
One, we're not using the original music, and two, my voice
No.
is distinct enough.
No. You don't understand. That does not matter on YouTube.
I guess we'll find out.
Well, and here's the best part. Come October, I'm going to be doing covers of Halloween themed songs.
Yay!
So
Okay.
I'm gonna really be pushing that envelope of what YouTube will and won't consider fair use.
Like spooky, scary skeletons.
Because see, here's the thing: that used to be totally fine, and nowadays people are getting copyright striked for that. So whatever.
My
Anyway.
intellectual property.
Here's a pairing.
Butthurt.
Here two people I think go together just so well, which is YouTube and misuse of copyright. That is my OTP right here.
Well, Boba Bun only has one OTP, but she has many that she likes.
You know what? Talking about other people on YouTube, talking about YouTube in general, people would get things that would go well together. I think Darkseid, Phil, and Mundane Matt, but that's just my 2 cents.
If I have
Oh
to
my
say,
god.
I'm gonna put out an OTP right now. I am Kirito and the sandwich.
I was just about to say that. God damn you!
Kirito, are you gonna
Bitch,
be? No, no, no!
come on.
I miss grief. That fucking scene kills me. Poor Sandwich Chan.
You don't mess with a man's lunch. Is it mess with a man's lunch, Asuna? That is a sacred oath.
Well, apparently, I'm not the only one who ships it. There is a movie trailer dedicated to it on YouTube.
There is.
Oh no.
It's funny.
I think we must force Josh Senpai to watch it. Josh Senpai needs to watch.
I don't want to.
Do
I'm
it.
Not, no, I'm not
Come on,
Come on,
gonna.
everybody. Do it. Do it. Do it.
Do it.
Do it. Do it.
I'm just gonna say no.
Sometimes that's
No.
just what you have to just say no to Yandere.
Sometimes you can just say no. Other times you get stabbed. But I'm gonna go with hang on. Did this? Okay. Hang on.
Remember, kids, just say no to everything. T.
I have to change something. God damn it.
Can't crack that joke. We're in public.
You know what? I give up. I give up. I did something and then I thought it was okay, and then it wasn't, and I'm just like, I'm just gonna leave it. I thought I changed the social media alert that went out to Twitter and Facebook. So it's linking to the Twitch, which is fine. But it has the it has the little blurb from last time. It didn't change it. Didn't bloody change it. Of course, there's something wrong because it's World War Weeb, and if we didn't have some kind of technical issue every fucking time.
Thanks a lot, Microsoft.
And this is why eventually Josh Senpai is gonna get us killed on the battlefield.
Or I might just die of wounds from aneurysms due to sheer stupidity.
Wow, didn't know you were that
Possibly, but I
stupid,
think I'll go
Josh.
before you.
Talking about OTPs, the Yu-Gi-Oh community has a ton of them.
Yeah, but only one is worth mentioning.
Merrick and Bakura.
No.
No, not him. No,
Yes,
it
really.
can't be possible.
We're not going to talk about American Bakura.
You're right. It's more likely Bakura and Slenderman. I mean, what?
No,
No, the only-
it's obviously Bakura and Bakura.
No, that's not the one that's worth shipping. The one that's worth shipping is the one that didn't ever actually happen. And that was Seto and Kasara.
Oh yeah.
Like that was the one ship that I was like, wow, Yu-Gi-Oh is retarded. But I wished they would have done something with that because that would have been really cool.
Oh my lord.
And then they didn't, and then it just kind of solidified Seto Kaiba as the eternal third place in everything he does, so that the villain can be second and Yugi can be first.
Yeah. Or Yugi and Atem. Wait, wasn't Seto like as of season 5, wasn't Seto like fucking, he was named the same thing in the past, I think.
Set. His name was Set
It was
in
Set.
the past.
Okay, so it was close. And then Bakura was still Bakura.
Right, they were both named Bakura.
And then Yugi's ancestor was fucking Atem.
Yes.
Just all right, so you're Set, almost like Seto. Okay, I get it. No, I see what you did there. And Bakura, and you, Atem.
Well, yeah, but Ishizu in a past life was Isis. Is this video gonna get flagged now?
I think we
Probably.
were gonna get flagged for so many things. But no. There you have a long list of things that we just broke as far as the rules of YouTube.
Yeah.
So I think this video is pretty much screwed. So you know what?
Yeah,
Let's
we'll be
just
fine.
let's just go the whole 9 yards. You people on Twitch,
Okay.
you know
Because
what you
anything
like.
worth doing is worth overdoing.
Well, no, it's
It's
we threw a few bombs out there that are probably gonna. Oh, I just threw one out right now too. I just said the B word. Boba Bun. Fear me, internet. Fear me. Rawr!
Mother of
That's
God.
it. I am the almighty YouTube. You have just been demonetized.
You'd have to monetize me in the first place, asshole.
Fine. There, you're monetized. I'm taking it away now. Fuck you.
Oh, God damn it.
YouTube, I'm gonna kill it in its sleep. Now, where did my undery knife go?
Anyway.
Hey, that might be something you want to sell in the merch store, like an official yandere knife.
Oh
Perfect for
no.
stabbing.
Oh
perfect
no.
perfect for stabbing rival females and jilted lovers.
No,
Also,
Well,
only.
cutting off
it
people's
is.
heads and sticking them in bags.
The
Oh.
truth is, Boba Bun doesn't use an actual knife. She uses a rusty, dull castration knife.
See, I was thinking we could sell that only after I make the how to properly sharpen a knife video, but I need to find my other whetstones for that because I can only find 2.
You
Well, I
said
mean, we
what?
could, but we're gonna have to have like these really badass stainless steel, like fabulous blades that have like Boba Bun imprinted on the side of the blade.
Can you imagine the cops coming to that murder scene? It's like, well, we found this dagger in his heart, and it's got a unicorn on it, and we're not sure what to make of it, sir.
It's got a unicorn on it, and it has the name Boba Bun on it. What can you make of this?
The heck is a boba bun?
Whatever
Like a
we
bakery
decide
or
her
something?
avatar is.
Is that a bakery or something?
I'm just gonna let that one go.
Anywho,
Anyone who
that's
gets the
question now,
reference
isn't it? What
will
is a
get the
Boba?
reference. Anywho, back to OTPs. How many of y'all watched Star Wars Clone Wars?
No.
No.
No,
That was after my parents told me I wasn't allowed to watch Toonami anymore.
I don't think it was. It was on Disney Channel, I think.
It was on many channels. It's a
Yeah, it was.
horrible
Well, I
show.
mean, because that was before Disney owned the rights to everything. But I'm trying to figure out what it was originally on, like what
It was
channel.
originally on Cartoon Network.
Was it
aren't the episodes only like 10 minutes at a time?
No. You're thinking of Clone Wars. This is Star Wars Clone Wars. There's a difference. So the one on that was specifically on Cartoon Network was a series of shorts, and those were all 2D. I'm talking about the 3D one, which is known as Star Wars
there
Clone
was
Wars.
a 3D one on.
That was a
Network.
3D one on Cartoon Network, yeah.
So they did air that one on Cartoon Network as well.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, they
so
did.
that would be
Pretty
Star
sure.
Wars Clone Wars, which whatever that was aired on. Anyway, OTP from that would be Obi-Wan and Satine. So Satine, I'm just gonna pop up my screen on the stream. Here we go. So Satine was a Mandalorian, I want to say ambassador, if I'm remembering correctly. And Obi-Wan, obviously a Jedi, was not allowed to have emotional attachment. But they ended up forming a bond anyway, but they never became romantically involved. And I'm not going to spoil all the things that happen, but there's definite chemistry, and they don't tiptoe around the fact that they both absolutely have feelings for each other. And a lot of stuff happens, but I think that's the craziest thing, because it has the allure of that forbidden love, but at the same time, due to certain circumstances that happen in the show, we'll never know what could have happened given more time, which I think is really fascinating. I wish they would have been able to get together by the end. So that was very emotional overall. That's a more serious pick for sure. So since I think Orphan's the only one who has seen this, other than myself, do you remember Satine?
Somewhat. I'd have to go through and watch the series again. I haven't watched it for quite a while, actually. But yes, I do remember something along those lines.
Okay.
Y'all are a bunch of nerds.
Yeah, we're all
Also,
fucking nerds. Bite me.
I've got to put this out there for the horror aficionados and sci-fi dudes. There's two. Um, there's of course the ever popular Mulder and Scully,
Yeah,
and
I
there's
mean that's just
also
a go-to.
and there's also for those aficionados of a certain series on sci-fi forever ago, John Crichton and Aaron Sun from Farscape.
Huh? Yeah.
Anyone remember Farscape?
I haven't watched a lot of it, but I've watched some of it. That actually segues very nicely into the one I was going to bring up, because in the later seasons they had quite a few Farscape actors take over some of the major roles. They made a couple of jokes about it too.
You're talking about Stargate, aren't you?
Oh, I'm absolutely talking about Stargate.
Good.
Okay.
I love Stargate.
So, I mean, the obvious one. God damn it! I'm sorry. I just blanked on her name, and I feel so bad. She was such an integral part of the story, and I'm blanking on her name. What was Daniel's wife's name?
Fuck. Holy shit.
I mean,
Blanking
they were married, so does it count?
Yes.
I mean, I don't know what the internet wants. Do OTPs always have to be like people who didn't get together? Because that seems to be 90% of OTPs on the internet.
Was it Charé? Or Cher? Or
Yeah, Charé. So Daniel and Charé, abso-fucking-lutely, like both in the film and in the series, like anytime they're on screen together, like their chemistry is so fucking real. And then of course,
what's his bucket that played Daniel in the movie play him in the series?
No, and that's one of the coolest things is that people, myself included, didn't realize that it was a different actor. Because in the movie it was James Spader. In the show, God, I used to know his name offhand, but now, of course, when it's important and I'm on a stream, I fucking forget.
Let me think.
Hang on.
Because I really liked the first Stargate movie, but I never was really interested in any of the series because I just assumed.
Oh, Michael Shanks.
Michael
Shanks.
Yeah,
I literally
Michael
had to
Shanks,
see.
yeah.
I didn't even see the name anywhere. I saw his face, and I'm like, Michael Shanks. But yeah, no. Michael Shanks looks almost exactly like James Spader did in that fucking film, and it's uncanny.
Sounds like him too. It's fucking
He does.
crazy.
It's so weird, and he's also one of the only ones other than Richard Dean Anderson who had the level of acting experience as the other actors. Now, Richard Dean Anderson, of course, was MacGyver, so he had a bit of a history to him. But Michael Shanks was like the professionally trained actor, whereas everyone else was just kind of getting into acting through other means. They didn't really have professional training. And they always like really point that out, like, oh yeah, he's the actor. The rest of us are just kind of there, which I think is great. But God, he had such great chemistry. He's such a good actor. Still to this day, one of my favorite actors of all time. But Daniel and Charé.
Kind of sad that Richard Dean Anderson passed away by.
Wait, what? I didn't hear anything about that.
Apparently.
He was alive and kicking a couple years ago. Pretty decent health too. Hang on. I'm looking this up because I want to say that maybe you fell victim to one of the classic blunders.
Yeah,
He got
maybe.
involved in a land war in Asia?
Well,
no, it's never challenge a Sicilian when death is on the line.
Oh no, he didn't. I was wrong.
Yeah, so again, that's one of the things on the internet. Like people will say, "Oh, so and so died," because it's like, I don't know why people do that. It's so annoying. But I was like, yeah, no, he didn't die.
I just thought of The Princess Bride when you said that.
That was the joke. That's the joke.
Oh God.
It's okay.
Which I will throw that out as an OTP. I loved Wesley and Buttercup.
Oh yeah, God, Wesley is fucking great. The much better Wesley than Crusher. Also, kind
Shut up,
of
Wesley.
Wesley from Princess Bride was one of the biggest influences on my sense of humor, like for sure. Like just my demeanor in general, like huge influence. And somehow like you got barely anything in terms of him and Buttercup for the longest time, but every time they were on screen, just their faces sold the entire thing, and that is what is so amazing about that performance.
Mm.
Let me pull up Princess Bride. Yeah. Both fucking gorgeous human beings. It's not okay. I can't be as gorgeous as Carrie Elways. I can't.
None of us can be, but
By God, I want to try, okay?
no. Did you see when he was in some of the episodes of Psych?
Oh my
when he was
God, yes,
Archie?
when he was Despero.
It was
Or as
literally like watching. It was literally like watching the Princess Bride again. Like the way he played the
Mhm.
character, just like the teensiest bit over the top
well,
in the
and
most lovable way possible.
well, and that's
He
the
was
thing
such a
is to
treasure.
well, that was part of the plot was how over the top he was. That is part of his thing as a criminal. That's how he got away with everything was by being so over the top. And that's
Yeah.
what I love about it. Like he found his way into performing what I think he does best, which is the slightly campy but just grounded enough person. And it's like those people do exist in real life. People are that campy in real life because it's not too campy. It's just campy enough. Actually, Psych did a lot of that when they got enough traction to pull in actors who had histories like that.
Speaking of Psych, I shipped him and the guy.
Him
what?
and the guy.
Him and the guy.
The guy,
Two
are we
MCs.
talking about the guy that I brought up earlier, like a few weeks ago? The guy.
I don't know.
The guy.
I'm terrible with names.
Wait, is
No,
it
no.
the guy from what's his bucket? Spy Kids.
Spy Kids, yeah. The guy.
No,
Elijah
that's
Wood.
not- no,
Elijah Wood.
That's wrong
Mm.
on so many levels. No. I was talking about Psych and his partner. What's his face?
Sean and Gus,
Sean and
Yes,
Gus.
it was Sean and
No,
Gus.
no, it was Sean Spencer and Guy Buttersnaps.
aka the Heater.
Yes.
Yes, that.
Or Black Magic.
That just
I
shows
love
how little
when
I
he
should-
tells the woman that he's a quarter Jamaican and Gus is not sure.
No, you're
Stop
not.
telling people that. Because
Sean-
apparently he's done it before. That's why he says stop telling people that. But apparently Sean has already gone around and told other people Jamaican.
And once again, another influence upon my sense of humor
See,
is
that was
Psych.
a good point for him to make a pun where he could have said, "Yeah, Jamaican me crazy."
No, he just straight up tells people that he's Jamaican. That's what's so beautiful about that fucking show.
They're eating the spicy food and they're crying, and Sean's like, I can't see out of my left eye. And Gus is like, I see dead people. They can't handle the spicy Indian food. I know this is supposed to be a show about anime OTPs, and I'm sitting here talking about Sean and Gus.
Oh no, but oh, you brought up. So here's a story. Real life of Josh. A couple weekends ago, I was helping a friend out get some. He was getting some furniture from IKEA, and to put it mildly, I am way stronger than he is. So he needed some help getting the furniture into his apartment, all set up together, all that kind of stuff. And he treated me to lunch because of that. And so we went to an Indian restaurant, and we had some lunch. And they were like, okay, so like how hot do you? Because I ordered one of the curry dishes. They were like, how hot do you want this? Mild, medium, hot? And I looked her dead in the eye. I said, I want to bleed out of my eyeballs. And, like, they got really concerned. She was concerned. The sous chef got concerned and came over. And I was like, no, I am not kidding. I want to bleed out of my ears, my eyes, every orifice that I could possibly bleed out of without cutting it. I would like to be bleeding out of at the end of this meal. I can handle it, I promise. And they're like, okay, we'll make it as hot as possible. We're putting on the note for the chefs, crazy, crazy hot. And,
Crazy hot with a slight tad bit of Ebola. Just a little bit. Because he wants to bleed out of every orifice.
Ebola.
My favorite part of this whole thing, though, is...
a bowl of soup.
So the sous chef came over herself. The sous chef came over, placed it down on the table, looked at me and said, okay, so we got it as spicy as possible. Here's some extra hot sauce just in case. And if you feel like you're going to die, please leave the premises so you don't die on restaurant ground. Best part, right here. I tasted it. It was mild. To me, anyway.
Oh.
And so I essentially ended up telling them, they're like, okay, next time you come in, we will make something special for you. I'm like, ooh. So next time I go in there, I'm gonna ask for the sous chef and be like, so you said you could have something special. What do we got going on? Anyway, back to OTP. With Psych, like as much as Sean and Gus are absolutely like the bestest of friends, and that is what you should look for in a best friend, is what Sean and Gus have. Sean and Jules are absolutely a great fucking pairing. In fact, I'm just gonna pull up an image. Sean and Juliet.
Jules with a little bit of bacon.
I mean, look at this and tell me this is not prime material for the best TV couple you've ever seen. Also, the way his brow furrows is just, it's spot on. It is the ultimate furrow of brows.
You look mad.
Anyway, maybe we should do some more anime. The Animus? The Animus. The Animus.
The Animus.
Well, since we're on the topic of dark-haired guys and light-haired,
Oh boy.
obviously, and this is one of those things that I cannot describe. It's just one of those things that if you were young enough and it captured you, it's always going to be magical, and that is Sailor Moon and Tuxedo Mask. Because their relationship is very toxic. They're nuts. She goes nuts every time he tries to break up with her. He breaks up every time he hears a prophecy that it's going to get her killed. And it's all over the place, man. It's so dramatic because she's 14 and he's 16. And they have to go through like 3 incarnations and multiple deaths to finally get together in the end. But every time they're on screen together, it's just like, oh. And I cannot explain it. That is the one pair that completely defies logic as to why do I like it.
I think it's because visually they look like a very cute couple. And visually, it is a very striking and somewhat romantic appearance. I mean, just look at some of the pictures that were brought up when I did the search for Sailor Moon and Tuxedo Mask. Like, Tuxedo Mask, in and of himself, is specifically designed to look like top-tier fucking romance in a 16-year-old anime boy body.
Yeah.
I am reminded of another anime. I can't put my finger on it. Who was it?
Also liked Noctis and Lunafreya from Final Fantasy.
Hmm.
15? 16. 15.
I'm going to go into
15.
Final Fantasy. Zidane and Dagger. That was a cute pick.
Oh, Cloud and the Buster Sword.
Cloud and the Buster Sword. Still a better story than still a better love story than Twilight.
Light Yagami and Misa was a better love story than Twilight.
Okay, can we talk
You
about
know
that,
what?
though?
So Sasuke in the log,
Yeah.
but we're not going to go into that.
Yeah, I was about to say, man.
So Light and Misa. I almost said Mikasa, and I'm like, I know it's not fucking Mikasa. Can you imagine?
Mikasa e Sukasa.
Anyway, so Light and Misa, it's such a bizarre relationship, but like the entire relationship highlights so many things that are important in the anime that it's kind of hard to describe, but the entire relationship is a front.
Is it weird that that relationship kind of reminds me of the Joker and Harley Quinn?
No, it's not weird.
It's
No,
not weird.
because that's
They are
exactly what it is.
similar. Well, not exactly, but it's very similar.
They are very similar in that she views it as a romantic relationship and he does not.
Yeah, and in both cases, they kind of use the romantic infatuation to their advantage. It's just, but Light is more Machiavellian about it, whereas the Joker very clearly will be like, no, like I'll let you kiss me and shit, and we'll probably do some naughty things, mash uglies behind the dumpster once or twice, but I don't see you as a romantic partner in any way, shape, or form. I just don't care. And he makes that very, very clear. And he can be conniving and he can be nice to her and convince her, hey, go do this for me, but at no point does he say, I'll love you for this, or never does he say, I'll make our relationship official or whatever for anything like that. Like Light does. Light actually pretends that he's interested in her, but she's got to do this thing. Or if she wants to be the best girlfriend, she's got to do this thing. Whereas with the Joker, he's very, very explicit. No, you are a henchman to me. You're just very useful, and Harley's okay with that. King Style says, Orphan, I need the sacred ointment. So
there's no sacred ointment here.
Only Zool.
There's no sacred ointment here. Only Zool. Bruh. I can't do the voice today. I'm kind of.
Oh my god! I used to work at a post production house in South Austin, and at one point someone brought I think it was like a new bag for some of the camera equipment. And it was a Thule, although most people say Thule, it's technically pronounced Thule. She brings it in, and the head editor takes one look at it, looks at our boss, looks her directly in the eye, and says, "There is no Julie, there is only Thule." And our boss just looked at him and was like, "Joe, I need you to leave." And that's the film industry in a nutshell. You're welcome.
He sounds like a guy after my own heart.
Oh, Joe is a fucking beautiful human being. I love working with him. I have not worked with him in years, though, so I don't know. We'll see. Anywho, so yeah, that was well, I guess we covered two relationships at once with that Harley and Joker reference. Also, anyone who says Harley and the Joker are quote-unquote relationship goals, stop it.
Get some help.
Also, people who say Hades and Persephone are relationship goals need to fucking stop.
Oh, let me stop you right there, sir.
Oh, it's getting prevalent and it pisses me off.
Let's not go into that because that's a terrifying relationship in itself.
It's horrifying. He kidnapped her.
Oh no, he didn't just kidnap her.
Whoa. In some versions it wasn't consensual. In some it very much was, because he wanted to get away from an extremely overbearing mom.
Those were in much, much later stories about it, though.
Yeah, the originals
the accepted official Greek myths about it, it was never consensual. That came much later. In fact, I'm not even sure the Greeks came up with those versions, but I could be wrong. But no, like from the onset, it was not consensual. And he
True.
at every point She didn't even get and some people are like, well, it's just kind of like Stockholm syndrome. Inuyasha, excuse me.
Oh, I don't think that's Stockholm. I think that's just a horny teenager liked a cute boy with ears.
Oh no, she's not the one with Stockholm syndrome. He is.
Oh.
Anywho. But yeah, so
like,
Persephone
That-
didn't
oh.
even Persephone didn't even fall victim to Stockholm syndrome. She was tricked into being forced to stay in the underworld for a certain number of months a year when she tried to leave. And eventually, as she was forced to rule hell, that's when the Stockholm syndrome set in.
And even then, didn't she have an affair with like Adonis?
Oh, and so did Hades.
No, not
Well, I mean, Hades
for
didn't have an affair with Adonis, but Hades had affairs.
No,
Hades
she did have
had
an
a few.
affair. She did have an affair, but I don't remember who it was with.
Persephone?
Yes.
Probably.
I don't think so. I think that was one of the things about
Nope.
Hades and Persephone was before they got married, Hades fooled around, and then after they got married,
No, see
I think Hades tried it once.
no.
I think Hades tried it one time.
No, he had.
No, so
Yeah.
that's the other thing that pisses me off, because people are like, oh, well, he was so faithful and this and that. And I'm like, no, he was not. He was absolutely not faithful to her. And that's another thing. Like, people are changing the
He was just as bad
myth.
as Zeus. He was just as bad as Zeus.
No,
No.
he was not as bad as Zeus, and that's the thing.
not as
Nothing
bad.
is
No,
as bad as
no, and that's people's point, is like, whenever I bring up, no, he absolutely cheated on her, they were like, yeah, but not as much as Zeus. Of course not as much as Zeus.
Yeah, Zeus is the archetypal, I'm gonna fuck anything that moves.
Also, if it doesn't move sometimes. And also, golden shower. literal, it's not the same kind of metaphor. It was a literal, like, that was not a phrase at the time that the Greeks wrote that, so don't get your mind out of the gutter.
Could have sworn.
Anywho.
Oh.
Moving on. You know who wasn't promiscuous, but I think is absolutely hilarious? Getting back to anime, but also Greek myths. Just combining the two. Hestia. Hestia, the
Fucking
goddess of the
Hestia.
hearth, and I think mostly the goddess of the hearth, but also of architecture in some cases.
Yes.
Okay, I
Hestia
was
was considered a virgin god, or virgin goddess. And I think that's hilarious, given her portrayal in Is It Wrong to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon?
Can I call for? I was correct. She did have an affair with Adonis.
Adonis?
Yeah.
Adonis.
Gross. Man, that man liked anything. That walked upright and
anything
wore a
with boobs and
skirt.
legs.
Well, yeah,
She
but it was
don't
also
get rid of
Adonis,
that.
so most things that wore skirts were also into him.
Ugh.
Like,
literally,
there's a
my
reason.
perception of Persephone has just gone downhill now that I know.
It should never have been uphill.
The only person that I really thought was even remotely virtuous in that whole debacle would be Psyche. Psyche is the only female goddess.
Well, she wasn't a goddess; she was human.
No, she became a goddess.
Oh, she
That's
did.
why,
Well, one
that's
of the
why
converts.
Aphrodite was no longer jealous of her.
Well, I mean, you also have the virgin goddesses who didn't really fool around.
Oh, that's true too.
Except-
Like,
Oh,
all of the
yeah.
virgin goddesses.
Let's see. Oh yeah.
God, who
4 months
were
of the year
they?
would be with
Hestia,
Persephone, and 4 months with Aphrodite.
I think Artemis was supposed to be, but I don't know if she and Orion ever got it on her.
I can't
Artemis
remember.
is-
I don't think Artemis remained a virgin goddess, but I know Hestia did. Someone else did. Athena. Athena was also a virgin goddess.
Yeah.
Oh, she's also. Oh, I would say she was virtuous, but she kind of wasn't at the same.
She was virtuous in the sense that she was the goddess of wisdom. So Athena was goddess of war, wisdom, and pottery, I think. Something like that.
Domestic arts.
Domestic arts, okay.
So like sewing and yeah.
Yeah.
I remember my shit.
Hooray! We're all going off memory for the most part here. Anyway, back to anime.
You mean like exactly how they told the original Greek tales? Just passed them down by memory.
Take one down, pass it
So
around.
anyway,
and it's to
so
go
getting back
around.
to is it wrong to pick up girls in a dungeon? Are y'all even though she is technically a virgin goddess by Greek mythos, are you a Hestia Belle crowd, or do you ship Belle with someone else? Or do you just not ship anyone there?
I've never seen Is It Wrong to Pick Up a Girl?
Well, the people who ship Belle and Wealth need to die in a fire. That's just a given. Wealth is pretty much the only male character in Belle's party.
So
And
of
so-
course they'd have people that ship them because
Of course.
there's always that contingent that like to put things with it.
Although I do like the abridged version of Eyes Wallenstein, because in the anime she's just kind of she's the one note hero type character. She does have some complexity to her, but she's the kind of one note hero, just great at everything and destroys things. But that's kind of the point. That's why Bella's infatuated with her. But in the anime, she's just a fucking I don't know. I don't know what you want to call it. She's just a dom. She's a straight up dom, and she wants Belle to be her pet. And so in the abridged series, I definitely want them to be a thing because it just warms me up inside. like she finds Belle on the floor. She finds Belle passed out on the ground because he overused his magic. And in the anime, like, she sits there and protects him and all that. And then he, like, freaks out because he's like, oh, no, she's right here. But he wakes up in the abridged series, and she's like, yes, I think you're going to be my pet. Oh, okay. But first, want to see something cool? She's insane. She is so fucking insane in that show. And I love it so much. But anyway, yeah, you should definitely watch Is It Wrong to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon, because it is a fucking great anime. It's a harem anime, and a lot of it's played out, but that's part of the humor of it. Like, it knows that a lot of this shit is played out, and it just kind of has fun with it. And it's a genuinely, like, the base storyline, the base plot is actually pretty interesting, I think.
No, I've heard a lot of people talk about it. I've literally never had the opportunity to watch it before, so
Yeah. When you
put
get
it
the
on my to-do
opportunity,
list.
yeah, it's good both in dub and sub, I think. So it really doesn't matter which you prefer. But yeah, it's pretty fun. Classic harem adventure anime at this point. Anywho. But have we found an OTP that is better than peanut butter and jelly yet? I don't think we have.
Well, I mean, if we're gonna throw out like the best, if we're gonna do the best OTP, we have to do the best anime.
Which is
so-
obviously Mars of Destruction. You're right.
No, it's Corey in the house, and if we're gonna do that,
Oh,
then
okay.
the best ship would be Corey and Chelsea.
You're right.
Ha ha!
Ha ha! Dangly parts. You're welcome for that reference. I hope you enjoyed it.
Sadly, most of the references I get are secondhand because I first saw that on Dragon Ball Abridged.
I'll be honest, so did I, but I've since watched it.
Harvey Birdman.
Ah, yes.
Hey, you get that thing I sent you?
Go away.
I've learned not to ask.
I've just learned to say no to everything.
Remember, kids, it's okay to say no. To what? Drugs? No, just everything. Just always say no.
I learned that from ghost stories.
Never stop knowing.
Wait, this isn't what I learned from anime. This is OTPs.
I
Deadbeat
missed that
dads are not
episode.
okay.
Deadbeat dads are not okay.
Oh, and one of the best lines. Nani?
Okay, no. That being said, I do think I need to throw out my favorite romantic line in an anime,
Okay.
and that's when Domon Kashu is chasing Rain down at the very end of Mobile Fighter G Gundam, and I can't remember who's trying to stop him because she's in a ship, and the ship is going into orbit, and Domon's in his Gundam, and he tries to take after her, and somebody stops him, and I can't remember who it is, and I think it's Olube, but I don't remember, so don't quote me on that. And Domon Kashu, in the throes of, I'm going to go get the love of my life, get out of my way, says, and I quote, "Those who try to thwart another's love will be met with galloping hooves and cries for revenge." And I don't know what that had to do with the situation at hand, but man, he meant it when he said it, and it was funny.
You know, I'm gonna have to remember that one, and just say it at random.
Oh, and the other one you have to say at random is Kyoji, "Mom's dead and Dad's in cryo, and it's all because of you." That's the other one from Mobile Fighter G Gundam that I have kept with me. Like, these are great, man. Like, the dialogue in this show just crackled.
Okay.
I'll bet
If we're
great
gonna
dialogue,
talk
so
about
just-
the absolute best OTP of all time, it obviously has to be Holy Warrior Lord Chris and his pixie sidekick.
Who?
So, it depends on how Ikikon responds to my panel submission, but I may or may not be doing a stream just for some select people on our Discord server, where we do a comedy night, and I will do a riff comedy or essentially a riff tracks on Garzy's Wing. Which is considered one of the worst anime ever made. If you'll notice, one of the other admins who is not as active as he used to be, he's Surly Temple, the guy who used to do the Social Otaku podcast with me. He is currently naming himself Holy Warrior Lord Chris because they do not ever say you or him or just don't refer to him as things. Anytime they are addressing him, they say, "Holy Warrior Lord Chris, what do you think of this? Holy Warrior Lord Chris, is that your sword? Holy Warrior Lord Chris, are you coming with us?" And it is the greatest thing I have ever seen in my life.
I
So
was
what
gonna
are his
ask you who
preferred
that
pronouns
was,
on his
but-
Twitter bio?
Holy Warrior Lord Chris.
Because Your Majesty isn't one of the options.
No, it is Holy Warrior Lord Chris.
And he
That
must
is
be
hilarious.
named Holy Warrior Lord Chris.
Instead of
Or
he who
you.
must not be named, it's he who must be named.
Yeah,
Every time.
Every time.
Can you, speaking of, can you imagine reading off Vash's fake name every time if somebody used that as, like, their identity? I can't even remember all of that.
I can. My name is Valentinels Alcanilla Shihak Shishia Boheretz. Gomigo Belle, Blue Stradivari, Talon Trent Pierre, Andre Cholton Hamos, Vinci Barros George, Deutzel Kaiser the Third.
Who is also
Don't hesitate to
Italian.
call.
Don't hesitate to call.
My name is Ponzu Pippin Patanopsicopoulos the Third, and these are my grandkids.
Dimmadome. God damn it.
My name is Dale Dimmadome, owner of the Dimsdale Dimmadome.
God damn it.
But you, of course, you should all know where Ponzu Pippin Patanopsicopoulos is from, right?
Well, I know where it's from. It's from Avatar.
Yeah. Speaking of Avatar,
Zutara.
Zutara. I'm glad we cleared that up. All right.
Now that we've gotten that settled.
No,
And I would like to say, like, I harbor no ill will for Aang. If
Kata
that's
Aang.
what, well, I'm saying for Aang as a person.
Yes.
And I'm not even really bitter that he got Katara. He's a great guy. They work well together, except he
do.
was apparently a pretty crappy dad. But and I don't begrudge. Let me put it that way. I don't begrudge Aang getting the girl. But if I had my choice, I would have picked Zutara every single day
Well,
of the
see,
week.
here's the thing. You have to look at the difference between Avatar: The Last Airbender and The Legend of Korra, and why Avatar: The Last Airbender was so much better. Because Legend of Korra was not horrible.
But
It wasn't great.
It wasn't as good as the original.
It was like, even barring the original, even ousting the original out of the equation, it's okay. It's decent. But it had a lot of problems, and I didn't realize until much later. I did some digging into who was involved, how they were involved, and all that kind of stuff, because I thought Bryke was the end-all be-all of the creative juices flowing. And I know that Nickelodeon and the weird fucking pressures they put on them during Legend of Korra was a huge part of it. I know that. But also, they didn't bring back the guy who was basically in charge of the story, the overall plot line. So they didn't have the person keeping everything coherent, who was in charge of keeping everything coherent and in charge of getting the overarching plot kind of situated and planned out. And so he was the creative genius behind the story, whereas Bryke was the creative geniuses behind the world and the style.
Mm-hmm.
So they didn't have that drive, but also, whenever you hear Bryke talk about Zutara, they're like, well, no, it was never intended for that. It was always intended for Aang to be with Katara. And I realized, like going through this, I have this weird feeling that Zutara was what the story runner wanted, but Bryke didn't want that.
Yeah.
And I also feel like no matter
because-
how, even though they were such a terrible couple in Legend of Korra, I think they forewent the obvious choice of Korra and Bolin, who would have been great together if Korra wasn't such a toxic human being.
True.
But with Korra and Mako, I think that was an apology to the Zutara shippers, even though they didn't understand that the showrunner made Zutara so incredibly poignant to the point where it's, even if you're satisfied with Kata Aang at the end, you're still disappointed, at least in some small degree, that Zutara didn't happen, because it was such a poignant relationship.
Well, see, and I think that is one thing that Korra could have done. They could have given us the firebender, waterbender romance that we wanted with either one of two options. Either Korra and Mako, or my preference, Korra and Iroh. I think either one of them would have been suitable options, and they forewent both of those, and that feels like twisting the knife, because they had a chance to make it up to us as the fan base,
I don't think Bryke understands storytelling or relationships. And so, because they didn't have someone there who did, they created very, very interesting worlds, but a lot of things were missing, and that's where a lot of the problems came from. And that's
Especially
why the
in
relation, especially in Korra, which is
That's
why,
more my
because
2 cents
they're
into
not bringing him back, they're not bringing the showrunner back for the live action Avatar. So at first I was like, well, it's Bryke, it's gonna be good, right? Oh no, they're not bringing back the guy who was the single, they were the voices that said no, the same voices that said no when George Lucas was making Star Wars. But then Legend of Korra was a lot of people. Yeah, exactly. Legend of Korra was basically the prequels, where they didn't have that little voice going, no, do it right.
I feel like my issue with that shipping though was that Aang came off as way, way, way younger than the siblings to begin with.
Yeah, and he's 2 years younger than Katara,
Katara.
and 3 years younger than Sokka.
So technically,
It's not a
300
huge
years
difference,
older than them.
but well, yeah, but so here's the thing: when he's 12 and she's 14, that is a delineation of he's a kid, she's a teenager. It's a
Right.
very, very small difference, but at that point in their lives, it does matter. By the time they're older, it doesn't matter as much. So her seeing him as a little brother at first and then growing to love him, not only because he's maturing and she's maturing, not only because they're getting to know each other better, but also because they're getting to a point where there's less of a divide in...
I am referring though towards the end. His maturity, he doesn't mature that much. And it still comes off very much like a sibling relationship. And it just feels awkward by the end of it. That was my issue with it.
Yes, to some degree, but you cannot deny the fact that the kid literally single-handedly saved the world. That
Ultimate
would
Chad
endear
move.
that would endear any woman of any age to somebody, regardless of their maturity level or level of siblingosity. Is siblingness?
Well, they also lampshaded that a bit before the end
Um,
with Ember Island players. It's like, I love you, Aang, like a brother.
Well, and they also kind of gave a little nod to the Zutaras too at Ember Island.
Mm-hmm.
As they awkwardly look at each other like, well, that isn't what happened, but okay.
Yep. And what I think is what the best part, and I'm gonna leave it here, and then we'll kind of wrap it up because we're a little bit past time. But I think the absolute best part of the Ember Island players, and possibly the best scene in all of Avatar: Last Airbender, when Jet goes, no! And the rock slowly falls, and it doesn't quite get all of him, so he has to curl up inside.
Yeah.
And then they lean over. Did Jet just die?
I don't know. It wasn't really clear.
And that, folks, is the greatest scene in cinematic history. You've heard it from someone who works in the film industry, so it must be true. All right. Anyway, thank you so much for coming to our podcast. If you liked it, please like and subscribe. But also check us out in our Discord, where we will be after this podcast. It is the Social Otaku in DLive, Twitch, and YouTube. The link to our Discord should be in the description. I hope to see you there. We have a lot of fun. I am a professional charisma coach, so you can come to it for that kind of help, or you can come to it for a good community, or you can come to it so you can tell me to my face, or at least through audio, that I'm a big fat stupid head, and I will absolutely believe you.
Dude,
Come on,
for the
people.
record,
Don't
don't
tell me
call
that
him a big
Australia
fat
doesn't
stupid
exist.
head, because Boba Bun will
Oh yeah, she might
Well, find
eviscerate you, but I won't be mad. So there's
Come on,
that.
people. I just want to extend an invitation to anyone to come tell me that Australia doesn't exist.
and birds aren't real.
and all I have to say is, Josh and Boba Bun are the extreme OTP. If any of you disagree, you're gonna die now. Bye bye!
And on that note, bye.